Imagine a world where people shaved their eyebrows to mourn a cat, where workers were paid in beer instead of money, and where some believed the afterlife was as real as your morning breakfast. Welcome to ancient Egypt, the land of pharaohs, pyramids, and mysteries that continue to puzzle historians. The truth is, Egyptian life was stranger, wilder, and more fascinating than most movies portray it. So buckle up, because today we're diving into 7 crazy ancient Egyptian facts that prove history isn't boring. It's downright unbelievable. 1. Cats were treated like royalty. Here's a wild one. In ancient Egypt, cats weren't just pets, they were sacred. Egyptians believed cats carried divine protection, and harming one, even by accident, could get you punished severely. Some families dressed their cats in jewelry and fed them like royalty. And here's the craziest part. If a family cat died, everyone in the house would shave their eyebrows as a sign of mourning. Not their heads. Not their hair. Their eyebrows. Imagine showing up to work today with missing eyebrows because your cat crossed the rainbow bridge. Ancient Egyptians didn't just love cats, they practically worshipped them. Next time your cat knocks over a glass, just remember, if you lived in ancient Egypt, you'd still have to treat them like a god. 2. Beer was money. Forget cash, credit cards, or bank transfers. In ancient Egypt, the real currency was beer. Workers who built the pyramids weren't slaves, as Hollywood often shows. They were skilled laborers, and they were paid in beer and bread. In fact, one common payment was a gallon of beer a day. Beer wasn't just a drink, it was nutrition, hydration, and salary all in one foamy mug. Imagine finishing a long shift at work and instead of direct deposit, your boss hands you a 6-pack. Honestly, doesn't sound too bad, does it? In Egypt, a beer belly wasn't laziness, it was proof you got paid. 3. They invented the first pregnancy test. This one will blow your mind. Thousands of years before modern medicine, ancient Egyptian women had a surprisingly clever method to test for pregnancy. They would urinate on bags of wheat and barley seeds. If the seeds sprouted, they believed it meant the woman was pregnant. Even crazier? Modern science tested this theory and found it's about 70% accurate. The hormones in a pregnant woman's urine can indeed help seeds germinate faster. So yes, while today we use plastic sticks from the pharmacy, ancient Egyptian women just needed some seeds and a little patience. Imagine peeing on wheat instead of buying a test kit. Egyptians were way ahead of their time. For makeup was medicine. When you think of ancient Egypt, one image always comes to mind. Those dramatic black eyeliner looks. Cleopatra, pharaohs, and even common people wore thick eyeliner called kohl. But here's the twist. Egyptian makeup wasn't just fashion, it was also functional. The ingredients, which included lead salts, helped protect their eyes from infections caused by the harsh desert environment. So in a strange way, their makeup doubled as medicine. Of course, the downside was that too much lead could be toxic. Beauty has its risks, right? Still, those smoky eyeliner looks weren't just style, they were survival. Egyptians weren't just slaying looks, they were fighting off eye infections in style. 5. They believed the afterlife was a full-time job. Here's something fascinating. To Egyptians, death wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new, eternal life. But here's the catch. You had to be prepared. That's why tombs were packed with food, clothes, jewelry, furniture, and even board games. Pharaohs were buried with golden masks, weapons, and treasures, while ordinary people sometimes took simple items like bread loaves and combs. Some even had Shapti dolls placed in their tombs, tiny figurines meant to do chores for them in the afterlife. Egyptians literally believed you'd need servants for eternity. Forget retirement plans. The Egyptians planned their afterlife like it was a never-ending work trip. 6. They had the world's first known strike. Ancient Egypt wasn't just about kings and queens, workers knew their worth too. Around 1155 BCE, laborers building royal tombs at Deir el-Medina decided they'd had enough of late payments. So what did they do? They went on strike. The first recorded strike in human history. They refused to work until they were given their rations of food and beer. And guess what? It worked. Eventually, the officials gave in and provided the workers their pay. So, the next time you hear about a labor strike, remember, Egyptians were already doing it 3,000 years ago. Even in ancient times, workers knew the golden rule: no pay, no work. 7. Mummies weren't just for humans. Everyone knows about pharaohs being mummified, but here's the twist: animals were mummified too. Cats, dogs, baboons, ibises, even crocodiles were embalmed and wrapped carefully. Some were beloved pets, others were sacred offerings to the gods. Archaeologists have uncovered entire cemeteries filled with mummified animals. One discovery alone revealed over 8 million mummified dogs. Imagine walking into that tomb. Egyptians believed animals carried spiritual power, so preserving them for eternity was a way to stay close to the gods. Cats weren't just worshipped in life, they were mummified rock stars in death. These ancient Egyptian facts prove that life back then was anything but ordinary. From eyebrow-shaving cat lovers to beer-salaried workers, from pregnancy tests in wheat fields to the world's first strike, ancient Egypt was packed with traditions and ideas that still shock us today. What makes it so fascinating is how much of it feels strangely relatable. They worked, they partied, they loved their pets, they wanted health and wealth, and they worried about the future, even if their future meant eternity in the afterlife. That human connection is why their stories still capture us thousands of years later. So here's my question for you. Which fact surprised you the most? The cats, the beer, or the pea pregnancy test? Let me know, because history is never boring when you look at it through Egypt's eyes.